Hello, my name is Chrissy Doss, and shortly we will be streaming for the Read More, Write More radio show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm brand new to Twitch, so I'm excited to be here, and I can't wait to get to know you guys. Just give me a minute to get acclimated, and we'll get going. All right, I'm just making sure that everything is where it needs to be. All right, and it looks like I am live, so we're just gonna check into that. Okay. Like I said, my name is Chrissy Doss, and I am the owner of Invisible Writer. Welcome to the Read More, Write More radio show. I am the host, Chrissy Doss, owner of Invisible Writer and Thriving Beauty. I will get used to this. I'm your host, Chrissy Doss, owner of Invisible Writer and the thriving business leader's best kept secret when you have a big idea that you want translated into a business book. I leverage my professional background in publishing and my high standards as an editor to help you finish writing your next business book. Let's tune into today's episode featuring a review of Your Best Year Ever by Michael Hyatt. So nonfiction books come in all shapes and sizes. For your first book, you can write as little as 50 pages or as many as 300, and it can still be considered a real book. And so the literary world is yours to explore. And yeah, so, okay, hang on just a second, guys. I am still getting used to this. Okay. All right. Got it. Hey, I am still here. Just figuring out the things. Okay. Let's keep going. All right. As I mentioned, nonfiction books come in all shapes and sizes. For your first book, you can go as many as 50 pages or as many. Oh my God. Okay, starting over, guys. Wow. Writing a book is putting yourself out there, just like live streaming is putting yourself out there, right? The difference is that in writing a book, you can edit, you can change, and things are a lot more polished when you're not live. So interesting thing. One of the books that I read recently, well, reread because it came out in 2018, is a book by Michael Hyatt. It's Your Best Year Ever, a 5-step plan for achieving your most important goals. Now, Michael Hyatt is a renowned author, podcaster, and business leader. And as a former titan of publishing, he was the CEO of Thomas Nelson before it was acquired by HarperCollins. So he's got a lot of experience in the industry and is very respected. And there's a lot we can learn from him. So when I love reading a book, I like to have access to as many versions of it as possible. So for example, I've got my audiobook, I've got my paperback, and even usually a Kindle as well. And when I break it down across the different platforms, it gives me the most options. Because on the one hand, I have the audiobook for in the car or when I'm doing the laundry or the dishes, whatever. And then I also have the paperback for the tangible, because as fun as it is to be with a book, that the tangibility of it is just, it's grounding. There's something about the way that a hardback smells and feels, and just you get to experience it in a different way. And so as an author, I encourage you to consider the ways that you're putting it out so that you can meet the needs of your audience in the best way possible. And so just have a quick breakdown of Michael's book. So the audiobook is 4.5 hours long. And just so you know, that means that the print version would come in at about 272 pages. There's about 250 to 300 words per page, depending. So it's good to have as many options as possible. Also, now it's very cool to be inclusive, and I definitely encourage you to have audiobooks to be inclusive of people who read through auditory only. And then the ebook version is useful as well for people who are using adaptive reading programs. So it's all about knowing your audience and knowing what they like. And so with Michael Hyatt, he's actually got 4 different versions of his book. He's got the Kindle, he's got the audiobook, he has a hardcover, and he has a paperback. Now, the difference between your hardcover and your paperback for your audience is that your hardcover people are going to want a higher quality product, and some people just like the look of a hardback over a paperback. Paperbacks tend to be more accessible. The price for the mass market is not that different, especially once it gets on Amazon, because Amazon does a lot to manipulate the pricing. And so as of this recording, it's November 1st, 2022. Michael Hyatt's book from 2018 has just over 1,300 ratings, 1,363 ratings on Amazon. Now, for people who have a smaller audience than Michael Hyatt, because he's kind of mega famous. I believe he's got like 30,000 followers on LinkedIn. He does a lot of great things, and he's a really good person to watch and learn from. But if you're starting with a smaller audience, then you can probably expect to have, when you're starting, maybe 25 ratings, and then you increase it up to 100, and then you keep doing as much as you can as quickly as you can. Also, Amazon has the option now to, as an author, you can link your book back to Goodreads. And so you can link to the ratings there, but it won't directly link, but it'll call out. So then that encourages people to look at your Goodreads as well. But getting into the meat of this book, and I want you to notice a couple of things. Now, this book we can actually look at historically because it came out several years ago. And since it came out in 2018 and now we're in 2022, we can look at some historical data. And so one of the pieces that we're going to look at is the date it was released. So your best year ever, that automatically sounds like an aspirational book, right? That's going to attract a lot of the personal development crowd, professional development crowd. And usually those books tend to do really well in November, December, and January. Those are the releases you're going to see then, because people are wanting to revamp their life, they're wanting to revamp their business. And that's really an exciting time. So within that, we can see that over the past 4 years, he's achieved like these more than 1,000 ratings, and it's pretty high ratings. Actually, he's got 4.5 stars. And so I encourage you, when you're writing your book, think about the end result of when you want it to be published and when you want it to hit the stands, right? And so with that, you're going to have to reverse engineer a couple of things. So keep in mind, who are you publishing through? What is their timetable? If you are self-publishing, what time do your vendors need? And hey, if you're just tuning in now, I see our viewer counts going up. So welcome to the Read More, Write More radio show. I'm Chrissy Doss, the host, and it's my very first Twitch, so be kind. I'm extremely happy to be here. And if you want to say hi in the chat, would love to say hi back. Right now, I am reviewing Your Best Year Ever by Michael Hyatt. And we've discussed how Michael is this, really a successful guy. He's really done a lot for publishing, and he actually used to be the CEO of Thomas Nelson before it sold to HarperCollins. Anyway, but let's break down his 272 pages. And so we've got Your Best Is Yet to Come, and it's a 5-step. So his subtitle is A 5-Step Plan for Achieving Your Most Important Goals. And so when you have your title, right, most of the times you want your title to be less than 5 words. Well, fewer than 5 words. And so within that, you're going to usually have a colon or some punctuation designating a separation between your main title and your subtitle. And within that, we have here for Michael, a 5-step plan for achieving your most important goals. Those 5 steps actually make up the 5 parts of his book. And so let's go ahead and break those down. So step 1 is believe the possibility. So within that step, he has an additional 3 chapters plus an action plan. And then step 2 is complete the past. So he's got another 3 chapters and then a section for an action plan. And then step 3, design your future. Again, 3 more chapters. So we've got some nice parallels here. So we've got 3 chapters for each one. Step 4 is find your why. And step 5 is make it happen. Now, each of these has 3 chapters and then an action plan. And the action plans range from prompts that he's called out throughout each of the individual chapters, and also some downloadables and things. So I encourage you to read the book to learn more about the specific things that he's teaching, but also look at the way that he's delivering the information, because that is really going to help you make decisions for your own book. And so that is that's really important. And then he has a bonus section in his book, and he calls it the LEAP principle. And so he's got his 5 main steps and then the LEAP principle. And then he has, where you would usually have your appendix and your resources, he also has sample goal templates. So because he is using this structure to create the framework for the reader, then you have some pretty cool things to look at in there. I liked that throughout the book, he calls out different examples from different industries. He calls out sports metaphors. He uses business examples, and he also mentions like his own coaching clients as well. And so you could do something similar. You could do 4 or 5 steps to success in your industry. And ooh, thanks for the follow. Somebody just followed me. That's really cool. Thanks, person. I have not figured out how to read that yet, but I can see numbers, so I'll get better at this. So we have the 5 steps. Ooh, okay. Hi, Lee. She says, great first radio show. Thank you, Lee. That was very kind. I'm glad you're here for the soft launch. So, yeah, so I was on the 5 steps. So you can do 4 or 5 steps in your own book. And for example, if you're only doing a 50-page book, then you could do 3 steps, right? 3 steps, 9 chapters. You could knock that out 50 pages. I'm not going to say it's easy. And in fact, Michael Hyatt doesn't even think writing books is easy. He has a really good quote from this book, and I wanted to share it with you. He says, I've written several books now, and the way I do it is always the same. I start with the easiest task first. I write the title page, the dedication, and the table of contents. Then I think through the chapters, pick the easiest chapter, and tackle it first. A book feels daunting, but one chapter is doable, especially if it's the easiest one. When I launch a new project, create a new course, or undertake any goal, I operate the same way. So you, dear listener, can operate the same way as well, because it just takes that first book to kind of get you over the hump, get you over the creative hump. And my first book is actually coming out in January. And so that's really exciting to me, because as a ghostwriter, I've written more than a dozen books for other people, but there's something about having a book with your name on it that really like ups the stakes, right? And it's really an enjoyable process, and it should be an enjoyable process. And that's really the theme of this radio show, is I want you to enjoy reading, and I want you to enjoy writing, because when you read more and you write more, then your ideas are going to be, you're going to be able to communicate them in a clearer way, and in a more concise way, and in a more powerful way. And I think that everyone deserves to have their message heard and shared with the audience that's going to take action from their message. And yeah, so I want to talk about too how you can monetize your book, because Michael Hyatt, again, just really watch that guy for cues, because he really is a masterclass in how you can use your personal brand to increase your followership, and to increase your visibility and your validity. Okay, and so when we're looking at monetizing the book, so like I said, Your Best Year Ever came out back in 2018. He had just published his first planner in 2017. So tail ending his full focus planner with this new book on Your Best Year Ever. They just tie in together really neatly. So you want to think how you can cross-sell and how you can cross-promote different services by writing a book. And by writing a book specifically on an intentional topic. And so 2018 to now, his URLs have changed. But the good news is he actually kept hold of them. Like, he's forwarding them to the appropriate places, and he's actually expanded his team and its brand and everything. And so on a micro scale, Michael wrote this book. It has his name on it, and he says, oh, go to michaelhyatt.com for more information. Well, today, November 1st, 2022, 4 years and 2 months after his book came out, there is no michaelhyatt.com anymore. What there is instead is fullfocus.co. But if you go to michaelhyatt.com, it'll actually forward to michaelhyatt.co, to fullfocus.co. And when that happens, he actually has a welcome video, and he has this whole like branding experience to make sure that people understand that, yes, you're in the right spot, but no, it's not what it's always been. And I think that shows tremendous growth, and that shows a lot of example of how you can pivot from your personal brand into a brand that's larger than yourself and that's inclusive of your team. Because I know, especially for some of my legal clients, when you have a law firm that has multiple partners, you want your brand to stand out for sure, but you don't want a client coming in and saying, I only want to work with this author. And so what some authors do or choose to do is they'll co-write with other partners in their firm, or they'll include like a shout out to their team. And so you can go about that a couple of different ways. But with Michael, what he did was he actually has a welcome message on this new website that says, at some point I crossed the line where it was no longer about me, it's about us. And then he signs up Michael Hyatt. And so what that does is it reminds the new website visitor who maybe picked up one of his books and just isn't aware of what else he does. And they picked up his book and they're like, oh, I need to know about this guy. And so he goes, and it's reinforcing that Michael Hyatt is still there. He's still a very big part of the leadership, but he's leading a team. And so when we look at the other ways that he's monetizing his book, so I already mentioned the planner. He's got a planner. He's also offering coaching. And the way that he's offering coaching is through his team as well. So it's not just like a one-to-one. His team is also able to step in, because that's how he's built his business. So he offers business leadership coaching, group coaching, one-on-one coaching, and it's all about performance, and it's all about increasing, I don't want to say increasing productivity, because he actually doesn't use the word productivity. He tends to focus on like fullness and wholeness and things of that nature. And so he has a couple of courses as well. He's got the Focused Leader, which is on brand, because your best year ever is really built to attract more leaders to his audience. And he's got free resources on his website. He's got a podcast. He has multiple podcasts, actually. He has one podcast that he's co-hosting, and then he's got another podcast that he is his team is hosting. And so I thought that was really interesting, that those are all housed under the same FullFocus.co. His official company name now is Michael Hyatt and Co. Michael Hyatt and Company, which is pretty cool, because again, it leaves room for growth, and it leaves room for his team to help create other revenue generating areas. So yeah. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer them in the chat. Yeah, so we'll give everybody a couple of minutes to digest the information. It was a lot of information, but the recap is that you want to be intentional about how you structure your book, and you want to make sure that the questions that you're answering for your reader are the ones that you want your clients and your customers to know. So like the space that you are known for is what you want to share, what you want to put out into the world. And so if there's any questions that you have for me about reading or writing, I'm happy to answer them. And just to give you a brief preview of what this radio show is going to be like in the long term, every Tuesday I will come online at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Usually it'll be for an hour. I think today I'm going to call it a little early. But I'm excited to be here, and you can expect a book review every other week, and on the alternating weeks, I'm going to be hosting a writing session, a live writing session. So it'll be a guided writing session, and those will be an hour for sure. And the book reviews we'll get to up to an hour. Today I think we're gonna call it. But thank you so much for tuning in, and I really appreciate you. Until next week, this is Chrissy Doss signing off. Thanks so much.